So the highest common factor, and it's abbreviated as HCF. So the highest common factor can be worked out by listing out all the factors for the two particular numbers that you're interested in. So generally when we're getting the highest common factor, it's a factor that's common between two numbers. So if we have a look at that as an example, these two numbers here. So we have the number 10 and we have the number 15. So the first thing we want to do in order to identify the highest common factor between these, so essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the highest number that's a factor for both of these numbers that's highest and common to both. So remember, a factor is a number that will divide in evenly into the number with no remainder. So if we have a look at the number 10, the factors of 10 I've listed here. So the factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5 and 10. So why are these factors of 10? Because if I was to take any of these numbers here and I was to divide them into this number, they would divide in evenly. So just as an example, if I was to take, let's say, okay, so we'll clear this here. So if I was to take the number 2, for example, and if I was to divide that into 10, we see that it goes in evenly with no remainder. So likewise then as well, I've done the same for 15. So this is the number 15, and I've listed out all the elements or all of the factors for 15. So you have 1, 3, 5 and 15. So these are all the factors for 10, and then these are all the factors for 15. So again, likewise, if I was to take this number here, 15, and if I was to take any of these numbers here and divide it into 15, they will divide in evenly with no remainder. Okay, so we can see that 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. So therefore 3 is a factor of 15. So that's what we mean by factors. Now what we're interested in then identifying is this highest common factor, and the word common here is very important. So that means it's a factor that's shared between these two numbers. So if we have a look at the numbers, and it's also the highest number value that's a factor for both. So if we have a look at these, so we can see that 1 and 1 is shared, but it's a common factor between 10 and 15, but it's not the highest common factor. We can see that 2 is not a common factor between both, okay, because only 10 has that as a factor. And if we have a look then at 5, for example, so 5 is a factor for both 10 and 15. And what we can actually see then as well is that it's actually the highest common factor. So it's the highest value that is common to both of these numbers. So therefore what we can say then is that the number 5 is the highest common factor of the number 10 and the number 15. Okay, so the number 5 then, this number here is what's known as the highest common factor. So it's known as the highest common factor. And why is it the highest common factor? Well, it's a factor for both 10 and 15, and it's the highest value that is a factor that's common for both of these numbers. So that's the idea of what's known as the highest common factor.